Hey, welcome back to Golf WRX's Winning What's in the Bag, where this week we're going to take a look at Joe Highsmith's What's in the Bag from the 2025 Cognizant Classic. Congratulations to him. Wild time. I mean, the guy just makes the cut on Friday and then shoots 64-64 on the weekend to win. So really amazing. Great first victory for Joe on the PGA Tour, which is pretty awesome. Now in this one here, we don't have a ton of in-hand photos. It is the putter, is his brand new putter. We do have that. But the rest of the bag is all kind of stock photos here on YouTube because we unfortunately haven't shot Joe's bag since last year, and a lot's changed. So, well, lots changed, lots stayed the same. It's interesting. But he's a Titleist staffer, so everything here is going to be Titleist. And we'll start with the driver. And driver is going to be the new Titleist GT3. So it's an 8-degree head, not sure on the SureFit settings that he has there. But the GT3 is the lower launching, lower spinning version in the GT3. There is a GT4, but the GT3 is going to be a little bit lower launching, lower spinning than the GT2. It's got a sole weight port that's got 5 different weights. You can set it to neutral, 2 versions of draw, 2 versions of fade. So you can really adjust this head to get it dialed in. It's shafted up with a Project X HZRDUS Smoke Black RDX 60 6.5 flex, which 6.5 is the equivalent of extra stiff for Project X. This is a low launch, low spin shaft, a little bit lighter weight, but it's still stout, still has a stiff profile to it. And it comes in at 59 grams and 3.5 degrees of torque. We move into his 3-wood, and his 3-wood is, again, a Titleist GT3 15. So Titleist doesn't necessarily put 3-wood on there. They just put 15 for the loft, but it is a 15-degree head, and it is, again, the lower launching, lower spinning version in the lineup. Is actually, for the fairway wood, the lowest launching, lowest spinning version of the 3 available between the GT1, 2, 3, and 4. Much like its driver sibling, it's got a weight port on the bottom where you can kind of set it between neutral, draw, fade. A lot of adjustability between that and the hosel. And these are multi-material, again, just like the driver. So tight, steel body, and they have that new matrix composite crown on them to kind of save some weight and move it around. It is shafted up with a Project X HZRDUS Smoke Yellow 70 6.5 TX. So 6.5 TX kind of means it's the Tour X Flex, but the Smoke Yellow is basically a counterbalanced version of the Smoke Black. So counterbalance means that there's more weight in the handle on this shaft than the tip, so the balance is a little more tilted that way. And when you have a counterbalance shaft, you can either make a head a little bit heavier, you can make the build a little bit longer, or you can kind of play around with those different weight settings builds with a counterbalance shaft. But it's lower launch, low spin, just like the Smoke Black is. Comes in at 79 grams and 2.9 degrees of torque in the TX Flex. Then we move into his irons, and he's playing a little bit of kind of a combo set. The first iron is going to be a Titleist T200. So this is the new T200. I'm assuming it's going to be the utility build because they don't make a 200 in a 2-iron. So this is the 2-iron version, 17 degrees. Not sure if he basically bends that maybe a little bit weak to kind of go with the gapping of the rest of his irons, or if it is still that 17 degrees. But the utility builds are built for a little bit higher launch. They're built to be used with lighter graphite shafts, but it's still the multi-material T200 construction. So it's got kind of a hot face on it for a little bit more ball speed. And then it's got internal tungsten weighting, hollow body design. So you get a little bit of forgiveness, a little higher launch with the T200. Again, 17 degrees is the stated loft on the 2. Not sure what it is in his bag, but it is shafted up with a Project X HZRDUS Smoke Black RDX 80 hybrid shaft in 6.5. So again, 6.5 being extra stiff flex. This is the low launch, low spin hybrid version of the RDX. So again, a little bit stiffer profile, I think, than the standard smoke shaft. Not quite as stiff as the HZRDUS Green, kind of placed in between there. And it comes in at 83 grams and 2.4 degrees of torque. The rest of his irons there are going to be Titleist T100s, 4 through 9 iron, all T100. And this is kind of be one of the most popular cavity back irons out on tour. It's got a compact look, reduced top line, reduced offset. It's got dual tungsten weights inside of it to add some stability and a little bit of forgiveness to the head. And it is just overall a great feeling, really great players club, and you see it in a ton of bags, especially Titleist staffers. Now these are shafted up, the 4 through 9 iron, with Project X LS 6.5s. The LS is going to be the low launch, low spin version of the Project X, which is already a pretty stout, low launching, low spinning shaft. This takes it to another level. So the LS, I believe, for me, comes out a little bit flatter than the standard Project X, both really low spin. But the LS is probably one of the lowest launching and lowest spinning shafts in terms of irons that I have ever hit. Now these here are coming in 125 grams, so not crazy heavy, but they do offer a lot of flight and spin control for those players who do need it. Now we're moving to wedges, and wedges are going to start with a 46 degree because he does not play the T100 pitching wedge. He's going to play a Titleist Vokey design SM10. So he's going to play the 46.10F. This is going to replace his pitching wedge. And with a pitching wedge replacement, a lot of people kind of mess with this. It really comes down, I believe, to kind of what you're looking for and how you're going to use the club. Some people need maybe just a little bit more spin. They like that kind of shaping of a kind of sand wedge looking pitching wedge, or they use it a little bit around the green, and the sole design may be a little bit more versatile. So those are some of the reasons that a player like Joe could use an SM10 pitching wedge instead of the stock T100 pitching wedge. This is shafted up with a True Temper AMT Tour White S400, which is basically very much like a dynamic gold. The big difference is AMT White. AMT is basically it's lighter in the 4-iron, and then every shaft adds a couple grams until you get down to the wedges. So in the wedge is going to play pretty much just like a dynamic gold S400, but it does have that ascending weight technology if you use the full set. For gap wedge, he's got a 50.12F. So this is the high bounce version of the 50 degree. They make a lower bounce version and a higher bounce. I think it's 8 and 12. I've hit them both. I prefer the 12 because I play in softer conditions. But just a little bit more bounce on that 50 degree for those full shots. Probably reduces some of the digging. This is shafted up with a True Temper True Temper AMT Tour White S400 as well. Now these actually do come in the wedge shaft at 132 grams. So very similar to the Tour issue S400 that we talk about, it seems, every week. The AMT White Tour, when you get down to pitching wedge and the rest of the wedge set, all come in at 132 grams. We move into sand wedge, and sand wedge he's playing a 54.12F. So F grind pretty much throughout all three wedges. We talk about this a lot. It seems like I think a lot of people think tour players play these super low bounce, crazy relief type wedges so they can open them up and do all these things. It seems to be a lot of sand wedges, gap wedges, all that with the F grind on the sole. Great for full shots, reduces digging, a little bit wider, great play out of the bunker. For players like Joe, you can still open it up, not worry about that leading edge coming off the ground a little bit and hit higher lofted shots, but he could also kind of press it forward, play some lower lofted shots, and not have that thing dig on him. So this is shafted up with a True Temper AMT Tour White S400 again. So all three of those AMT Whites, it'd be interesting to find out why he went with that instead of just a traditional S400, but a unique little setup there with the shafts. Now the lob wedge, the final wedge in the bag, is going to be the SM10 58.04 T grind. So this is an extremely popular grind on tour and lob wedges. A lot of trailing edge relief, toe and heel. Allows a player to really open the face up without that leading edge coming off the ground on tight lies, hit higher lofted shots. When you play it square, you play it just like a full shot square, it actually plays a little bit more bounce in 4 degrees. So it's an extremely versatile grind, allows players to really get creative and hit a variety of different shots in the lob wedge. Now this one is shafted up with a True Temper Dynamic Gold S300. So S300, it's actually a little bit lighter, 130 grams, and he's probably doing that to have something a little bit softer for a little bit more feel in that lob wedge. Probably not hitting as many full shots with it, a lot of partial shots, get that little softer shaft, a little bit more feel in the hands for those kind of precision touch shots around the green. Now for his grips, he's playing Golf Pride MCCs. And he's playing the black and gray version, so this is the grip that has the firmer corded upper hand, and then it's got a softer rubber lower hand. So you get a little bit more feel in that lower hand, but you still get that firmness and that control in the upper hand, that cord to kind of help with traction. A really popular grip. He's playing it in like the black and gray, probably the most subtle color variation of the MCC that Golf Pride offers. Not sure on size, so I'm not going to comment on weights or anything like that because I'm not sure which one he is playing. Now for putter, I think we just filmed, he's got this new Scotty Cameron 009M, which is 009M stands for Masterful. So the 009 is a unique tour issue only head. It's based on the Newport that we can buy at retail, but the 009's got a little softer, a little different shaping to it, and then the Masterful version takes a little bit further. It was done a few years ago when the first Masterfuls came out, and it was actually Scotty using a new CNC machines that needed less like hand polishing and all that. They came off the mill more finished and more precise, and then didn't need to be polished and all that as much. Now they do have some other differences as well. The flange, when you look from behind, the flange is a little bit thicker. the bumpers and shoulders out on the toe and the heel, a little bit taller, a little bit beefier overall look while still being soft and rounded off. So a very unique, very coveted look. A lot of people would love to get their hands on a 009, Masterful or not. If they could, they're just extremely expensive to try to get for us mortals out there on the the standard market. And it's kind of a black finish. It's got some cool stampings on it, but a really unique Scotty Cameron for Joe out there. So a really cool look. I like all the little details on it. And then for ball, he is playing the Titleist Pro V1. He just switched into the 2025 version. So the Pro V1 is going to offer a little bit flatter ball flight, a little bit lower spin with the long irons, driver, all that, while still offering a soft feel and really good stop and drop control around the greens. So that is Joe Highsmith's winning what's in the bag from the 2025 Cognizant Classic. Congratulations again to him on his first tour event win. Opens up a ton of doors, really exciting. So that's it for this week. Check back next week when we check out the winning what's in the bag